Now, many of y'all might not know this about me, but I am an avid anime watcher, and among them, one of my top five favorite animes would have to be Death Note. And with the Death Note universe specifically, I always kind of come back with the idea and just the thought process of any specific characters from comics or whatever other universes being put into the Death Note universe and kind of having to deal with the possibility of trying to figure out the Kira case or just anything around that lines. And obviously, that led us to the very big question of what if the world's greatest detective was put on this specific case and was actually just implemented into the Death Note universe entirely and having to deal with all of that in whatever kind of way. So, just kind of putting Batman into the world of Death Note, where justice has a very entirely different meaning, and this is basically a reality dominated by Kira's idea of justice. I'm just wondering, like, how would Batman's values clash or align with this very dark world, and how would he actively be able to figure out that light is Kira? So, kind of, let's just like dive into like very this much chaos and see exactly what my opinions on this specifically would be. So, honestly, when we first have to actually talk about this, we have to talk about how Batman would discover the existence of the Death Note. And with this, it's really just mainly a part of his detective skills and very good suspicions. But Batman, obviously, is the world's greatest detective, so he would quickly pick up on the sudden, suspicious deaths of criminals. He would analyze the patterns, timing, geographical locations, and victim profiles, kind of leading him to suspect the same things that L did, probably around the exact same time or even a little faster than L was able to. And he would just kind of automatically suspect that some kind of unknown force or individuals was behind these murders. I honestly see a very big situation of Batman would probably end up integrating himself with somebody like L, the person who's basically been given jurisdiction on this entire case, after most likely being easily able to figure out that there is a case going on. And I honestly see this isn't going to be a situation where he comes in obviously as Bruce Wayne. This is just going to be Batman. So this is going to be a very interesting thing to actively think about. When we actually like talk about this, I would really just see a very big situation that, given that they both share a relentless dedication to justice and very unique methods, Batman could very much support L's investigation with his own resources, technology, and tactical input. With Batman's extremely advanced technology, he'd likely place surveillance in key areas and monitor criminal activity to pinpoint Kira's exact movements until, like, they figure out a lot more about what's going on. And when we actually talk about something else specifically and how Batman would react to something like Kira's form of justice, this would be a very, very interesting thing. Batman has a very strict no-kill rule, which would directly oppose Kira's entire philosophy of justice through killing. This moral difference would put Batman on a very fast collision course with Light Yagami. And that would just be a very interesting thing to see due to the fact that they both are extremely intelligent people that Light mainly just kind of started losing due to the fact that he just got way too confident and way too cocky and just basically set himself up for failure by later points in time. Like, Batman would very quickly understand the Kira's motivations, but kind of would just be more of seeing them as a dangerous perversion of justice. He would understand, oh yeah, criminals, just getting them out of the way, but he would also understand, like, this is just not the correct thing to do. He would see Kira as an extremist who risk becoming as corrupt as the criminals he kills, which is exactly what ended up happening. Like, he would have like the utmost determination to stop somebody like Kira because knowing that Kira's methods are causing this mass fear, Batman would just be compelled to kind of put an end to Kira's entire reign, viewing it as his duty to protect the innocent and ensure that justice prevails without all of this excess murder. And that's just honestly something that I really do see kind of happening. Batman and Light Yagami specifically would very much be always put on this specific collision course. And when we actually talk about things like having meeting Light Yagami and all of the surveillance kind of be putting in, as soon as L has any suspicion on Light, this is going to be a very interesting thing because Batman has already a very big tendency not to trust anybody whatsoever. So he would be kind of zoning in on Light or just zoning in on any specific person that he can, which would make it extremely interesting to kind of see exactly the way that all of these events would plan out. And the main thing that I honestly find the most interesting if he's just put into this universe is the fact of Light Yagami would never actually know Batman's actual name. I do not see a very big situation of, oh yeah, Batman just switching over to the Bruce Wayne persona and just being like, okay, let me also help in the Bruce Wayne kind of aspect. He would kind of just understand that, okay, yeah, well, let's just not kind of test anything, especially like if he figures out about the Death Note's existence fairly like fast, it would be a very big situation. He's just not gonna kind of let this be a situation where he like reveals his name anyways. Like he'll just come into the situation as Batman, not Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne has no need or reason to be involved in this kind of situation. And especially once they figure out that the Death Note exists, it's just gonna be a very big situation where Light is basically gonna have to be dealing with the exact same things as L. L, he doesn't know his actual name until so much late on that until he figures out his exact name, he can't do anything to L. Batman's gonna be the exact same way and a lot more methodical, a lot more cautious about who he lets onto his name, who he tells anything about his name, and it'll just be a very big situation where Light cannot do anything to Batman because he doesn't know who Batman is. Batman is just this mysterious person that he doesn't have the name for. He doesn't have any kind of real on thing around. Like obviously I have Misa Misa who you could probably like just see all of the people's names and everything else like that. But Batman is a very much calculated kind of person. So it would just be a very, very interesting thing to actively try getting to Batman and figuring out who he is. Because he just kind of disappears and reappears whenever he very well pleases. Now, when we actually like talk about something very interesting in my opinion, and specifically the talking about Batman's ability to be able to like resist the power of the Death Note and kind of managing not to fall into temptation of the Death Note, it would obviously be Batman. If it gets to the point where he gets in contact with the Death Note, he might feel like a momentary temptation to use it. After all, having the power to eliminate all of the most dangerous enemies could be like very appealing, especially in like Gotham's never-ending war on crime. But he has a very strict moral code that he understands the second that he does that, there is no going back. Despite the temptation, Batman's code would very much prevent him from ever using the Death Note, even against villains who have repeatedly caused harm to others. He would most likely just destroy it or try to hide it where no one else could be able to access it. Batman would likely navigate and like just investigate the existence of the Shinigami, understanding them as supernatural beings, but treating them as a new type of unknown entity to manage. Like we've seen Batman have to deal with this on a good portion in many different occasions, especially when we have situations where he's interacting with someone like John Constantine, who has to interact with like ghouls and remnants and wraiths all of the time, where Batman is just going to be a very big situation where he spends so much time around death. I wouldn't be surprised if this is an exact scene from, I don't know if it was Justice League Dark or whatever, where wraiths are literally like just coming around and Batman just basically scares them, even though he can't see them and he doesn't know that they're there. He just kind of can feel their presence somehow and just scares like some of the Shinigami in some other way, like Ryuk or whatever. It would be a very just funny thing to very much witness. Now, when we actually get to like how Batman would strategize against Kira, this would be a lot of psychological warfare. Batman would use psychological tactics against somebody like Light, like studying his patterns, motives, and personalities. Knowing Light Yagami's intelligence, Batman would likely approach him with extreme caution. Like, I see a very big situation of him just trying to build a case against Light Yagami, like, and specifically with all of his detective skills. Batman would very much gather evidence, perhaps like piecing together Light's academic backgrounds, connection to L, and Kira patterns of killing to slowly build a case. He would very much struggle kind of because Light is extremely intelligent and early on and is very much like somehow just being able to do all of this without much noticing. But Batman is very good at kind of just pinpointing the smallest details and immediately being able to put all of them together. Batman would very much operate this behind the scenes, avoiding media and public attention to avoid drawing Kira's notice, and this stealthy approach would allow Batman to investigate without risking much detection. I specifically also had to state this because there might be a situation where he actually like is meeting Light, but it wouldn't be often. Like he would just kind of keep himself away and only maybe speak with somebody like L on whatever specific topics that they need to deal with, but just avoid any public presence or just being seen basically at all until he absolutely has to. This is a Batman who obviously always prefers working in the shadows anyway, so it would just be a very much normality for him anyway. And when we more talk about like just the collaboration and like tension between the other Death Note universe, like the other Death Note characters, like his relationship with L would be very much of relationship of respect. Though like they might clash on very certain tactics, L's analytical style and Batman's physical would be field tested, kind of an approach between like a very effective partnership. These both have a very analytical mind, and I honestly just see them having very quick debates on how would be the best way to kind of catch Light in his act and just dealing with a lot of the things that are just going on around here. This would be very, very specifically interesting kind of relation to be holding to. And some people, I specifically know Batman's more intelligent, but I've heard some people specifically say that L is more intelligent than Batman, but who knows? And there would be like a lot of specific other like things to like really think about, because a lot of the characters are more specifically just like characters that Batman just would not want to be dealing with in the first place. Like Batman has a very no nonsense attitude, and he would probably clash with Nier's like detached style and Mello's like recklessness. However, he would probably see their value in solving the case, and would use each of them for their specific skills and strategies. And when we come to like the allies in the Death Note world, Batman would probably enlist allies who share a common like commitment to justice, like Soichiro Yagami or the other members of L's team, and Batman would use their knowledge of Kira to kind of strengthen his own case, really helping him out by quite a large margin. Now, obviously, the main thing that we are gonna have to talk about would just have to be Light versus Batman, and the mind games in this would be absolutely insane. Batman and Light would both engage in battle of wits, with Light understanding and underestimating Batman's specific abilities, and Batman's experience with mind games would kind of give him a unique edge against somebody like Light's arrogance, which he would just build up the more that he starts underestimating somebody like Batman. Batman would very much use decoys and disguises. I already had to say this. Like, he would not be coming in as Bruce Wayne. He would use his experience in disguise and kind of use decoy tactics to confuse Light by planting false leads or a decoy of Batmen. And he would kind of just manipulate Light into revealing very critical details. And this would also be a very big situation where he would kind of probably just try tricking Light into revealing himself. Batman might create a scenario that forces Light to act impulsively, using an opportunity to kind of expose him. Unlike L, Batman would use his intimidating presence to very much rattle someone like Light. So, in conclusion, this would be a very interesting kind of world thought process to see, due to the fact of so many things could very well change, and a lot of things would just be very, very different. Batman's presence in the Death Note world would just very much change Kira's entire, and just challenge Kira's entire view on justice, bringing a more complex and compassionate perspective that could very much inspire others to rethink their views. After bringing Kira to justice, Batman's presence would have a profound impact on the world, likely encouraging a more morally grounded form of justice. And Batman's fight against Kira isn't just about catching a criminal. It's a battle of basically the soul of justice itself. And in a world where life and death are in the names of a notebook, Batman would prove that true justice doesn't mean just fear. It's about hope and integrity. So, please, let me know what you guys thought about this video and tell me if you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any other videos maybe involving anime and comics, let me know down in the comment section below. And I hope that you guys did enjoy this video, but I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.